Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Happy Vlogmas, happy Bookmas. Welcome back. Today I am talking about all the books I read in November. I completed 8 books in November and 1 I am still halfway through, but we'll get to that at the end. So the first book that I finished in November was Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. So this was on my books I'd like to finish by January, so by the end of the year. I bought this book before reading it. I was so excited, like vlogged it. I'll link that above and below. Like, could not have been more excited. It sat on my shelf right here on the end for months, and then I finally read it. Phantasma was very popular, very buzzy. The sequel came out this year. Anticipated 5-star read, on to Enchantra, maybe another 5-star read. Like, I was ready to go. So Phantasma is about Ophelia, who comes into some family power, we'll say, from an event, and she has to take on a lot of responsibility. And her sister, to help with those responsibilities in her way, she joins this like competition in this like house ran by devils that kind of pops up. And this is like in an alternate universe New Orleans, it seems. But she goes into this competition ran by devils, and her sister Ophelia finds out and joins as well, so she can save her sister, because she doesn't obviously want her sister to be putting herself in danger to help with the family issues. So Ophelia has to compete to get to her sister, and she kind of befriends or makes a deal with a ghost that is stuck in Phantasma called Blackwell. So they kind of have mutual, they can help each other. So they basically help each other while Ophelia is trying to get through these trials to get to her sister, to save her sister. I love a good trials book, and so I was very excited. I like some good trials, but I did feel like the trials in this were very much the B plot. Situation with Blackwell and Ophelia definitely was the A plot, and I feel like Phantasma, which is the name of the book and the name of the house and the name of the competition, was very much a B plot, personally. I felt like the trials were not good. They were not original. I didn't feel like, but they did get better as the stories went on, but they were over extremely quickly, resolved very quickly, and it was almost like we were just rushing through the trials to get to other things that I don't think were as consequential in the book. Also, one of the things I like best about trials in books is the other contestants and like their reasons they're there, and the interpersonal relationships between the contestants, whether they're enemies, whether they have feelings for each other, whether they're friends, whether they're siblings, like all the different dynamics you could have when people are competing against each other, but also going through it together. I think that's like the most captivating part of having a trials plot in your book. And I just feel like the other contestants, while some of them got a little bit of context, I really don't feel like they were utilized well. I don't think that they were used to their full potential with Ophelia or with each other or within the story. I just felt like that was like a lost opportunity. I found Blackwell to be annoying and like very flippant, too flippant for like the situation. I just found him very, not inappropriate, but I just felt like he didn't mesh with the rest of the book. I felt like his personality like didn't fit in with his situation, with the Ophelia situation, like what was going on. I just felt like he was out of place in this book. I found their romance to be quite cringy. One big kind of like, I guess like plot hole? I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand this. You can explain it to me if you loved this book. Why do the devils, I know the other contestants have limited knowledge of what's going on, but why does no one seem to care that Ophelia is basically cheating her entire way through this experience? She's cheating through the whole thing, and I just feel like nobody cares. Like, that's fine. That just like really confused me about this book. I'm like, what? With all that being said, I think the highlight of this book is the OCD rep. Ophelia has OCD. The author has OCD. There's a little section in the back of the book where she talks about, you know, where that inspiration to give Ophelia OCD came from, her own symptoms, or people that she knows symptoms that are symptoms that Ophelia deals with in the book. I think that was the highlight of the book. I think it was done really well, and it's important. I've never read, that I can recall, OCD rep in a book before. That was great. I think it was done very well. It was a forefront of the book, actually, which I think was really great. And yeah, that was the highlight of this book for me. While that's true, the rest of it was rough. The rest of it was rough for me, guys, and I was so excited for this book. So I gave Phantasma a 2.5. The next book I read in November was Unsteady by Peyton Corinne. This is a hockey romance. It's the first of 3 so far. And yeah, I definitely am going to read the rest of the books. So this one is about Reese, who is a hockey player, and Sadie, who is a figure skater. And I think this was also on my books I want to read by the end of the year. So I'm doing really good on that so far, even though I have a month left. Like, I don't have a lot of time left, but I have eaten into it over the last couple of months since I made that video. He had a injury on the ice, and he's really having a hard time psychologically and mentally coming back from and being back on the team. Sadie is trying to hold everything together. She's basically has a really bad home life. She's basically become the mother to her younger siblings. And she's got college, and she's got skating to keep her scholarship. They just have these huge things, these huge obstacles and challenges in their lives. But they kind of meet up together on the ice and kind of start skating with each other and liking each other. But even though Reese really sees her as like a safe place, Sadie's got a lot going on. She doesn't need a guy complicating her life, demanding more of her attention, demanding more of her time. Like, she doesn't have time for that. But yeah, there is a connection between them. I thought this was a solid hockey romance, to be honest. Not my favorite. It's not my least favorite. I liked the highlight of this. I really liked the disability and mental health rep for like some of the different characters. Obviously, some of them we will be getting more of their story because the next few books are about two different players on the team. But I liked how each of them seemed to have, even if it's not revealed in the first book, I've read the synopsises for the remaining books, and they all seem to have some kind of disability mental health representation, which is great. So that was the highlight of this book. As for the characters and the plot, Reese was the highlight of the book. I thought he was really adorable, really sweet. He was definitely my favorite, of the very main characters in this book right now. I think he was my favorite. What was his friend's name? The one that's really quiet. I can't remember, but he's in the third book. His book is the third book. I'm really looking forward to that one. It comes out in 2026. I will put it up here when I look it up. One thing I want to say is that if you liked Keeping 13, you've liked the plot and kind of the dynamics in Keeping 13, you would probably like Unsteady, because there is a lot of intersecting plot points, things that are very similar. So if you liked that, I would say that could be kind of a read-alike in the Boys of Tommen series to this book. It was quite long, actually. It was, I think, longer than it needed to be, but overall, it was a solid, hockey romance, and I enjoyed it. So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in November was Warrior Princess Assassin by Bridget Kemmerer. I pulled this prompt in November for pretty cover, beautiful cover, so that's why I picked this one. And it was also on the books that I want to read before January, so definitely chipping away at those books. So this is about a warrior and a princess that have to join together for a political marriage, and then an assassin that is assigned to assassinate them. And the twist on this story is that the assassin is in love, or used to be in love, or has a relationship with the princess. So that definitely complicates the situation. After reading the reviews, I did a video of reading 1 and 5-star reviews of anticipated 5-star reads. I can link that above and below. And this was one of the ones I read. I did look at the reviews for this book, and reading those reviews, I found out it was Why Choose. I was like, okay, I've never read a Why Choose before. I've read a reverse harem that isn't Why Choose, but I've never read a Why Choose. So I didn't know that going on. I thought this would be perfect for a love triangle, because that's my favorite trope. But I've never read Why Choose. Let's read it. I love the plot. I love the way the plot had the characters come together and kind of be stuck together and have to go on this adventure. I really liked how Bridget did that. So it was really good. The thing is, I think this would have been a perfect, for me, obviously people that love Why Choose, this is probably the perfect book for them. But I think for me, this would have been a perfect love triangle. Everything else about the plot, I think was perfect for a love triangle for me. I would have really enjoyed it. The love triangle just would have really made it perfect for me on that side of things, on the romance side of things. So the thing I like about love triangles and some just plots in general is I like the angst, competition, drama of the relationship hardships or whatever. I like that dynamic between the three people, that there's a love triangle. So when in a Why Choose, when everyone's just kind of getting it on with each other, it makes it less entertaining for me to read, because there's of course conflict in this book, but not really in that way. So I found it very like less entertaining because there wasn't that kind of like romantic tension or conflict that I like, that a love triangle usually gives to me. I really loved the plot overall, but I just don't think White Cheese is for me, so I gave Warrior Princess Assassin 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was The War Violin by Ray Weiser. This is a historical fiction set in World War II, historical fiction set in 1944 in Palm Springs, California, which the thing I love about a lot of historical fictions is that they take obviously true events and put a fictional, obviously that's what historical fiction is, a fictional twist on it. But there is a lot of like little parts of history that I wouldn't even have known were real or existed if I hadn't read a historical fiction novel. And this is one of those. So in Palm Springs, California, there was a old hotel that was very like, because Palm Springs is where all like celebrities go to get away from Hollywood. So there was this very affluent hotel where all the celebrities went to get away and have a break. And when World War II happened, it was kind of like going under. So the government bought it for a war hospital. And this all really happened. So it turned into a war hospital, and where the fiction comes in, that our character, Frances, and her friend, Mary, I think, they sign up to kind of be not nurses, but to help at the hospital, to like do their part for the war effort. There's a lot of hubbub in Palm Springs when 100 POWs, Italian POWs, are brought to the hospital to do like manual labor, laundry, and just do things around the hospital. Frances is very shocked to find out. She goes into the room of like one of the soldiers that she's been like helping, and in the other bed is one of the Italian POWs because he was burned really badly or hurt while working with machinery in the laundry, and so he had to be put in the hospital. The three of them kind of like get to know each other while, he's in the room while she's kind of helping, reading to this other soldier. And yeah, she feels an instant connection to him and basically falls in love with him at first sight. But the problem is, she's engaged to Nicholas, who is off fighting in the war, and they're supposed to get married when he comes back. So she definitely has a lot of conflict there. So what's going to happen when the war ends, if Nicholas comes back, Alessandro, the POW, goes back to Italy, like what is she gonna do? She feels that, her and Nicholas got engaged the night before he shipped out. They were kids. It's been years. Is she even in love with him anymore? Was she ever in love with him? Is she in love with this other guy? Like, she has a lot of choices to make depending on what choices she's presented with, because who knows what could happen before the war is over. I love Palm Springs, and little did I know that this, which is now just a regular hospital, this old hotel / war hospital / regular hospital now, is literally like 2 blocks away from where I always stay in Palm Springs. So I'm so excited. I didn't know the history of it. I've driven by it, I think, because it's kind of, because it was an old hotel, it has a look. It doesn't look like a regular hospital. So, but I gave it a passing glance. So next time I go to Palm Springs, I'm definitely going to drive by and like have a great look at it, because I didn't know the history of this building. So that's something like I learned through different historical fiction books. I've learned so much about real history that wouldn't make it into a history book because it wasn't like that consequential to be included. So that is one like great thing about historical fiction that I love. So yeah, next time I'm going to go by this hotel and now it's a hospital, and appreciate the history behind it. So just a great setting for a unexpected World War II like history that I was not aware of at all. As for the plot, I can handle insta-love. I don't mind insta-love, but this was like insta-love on steroids. These people barely talked to each other, and all of a sudden they're in love with each other. The friendship that she had with the guy that shared a room with Alessandro, that had time to develop. She learned about his life, where he's from. Like, they spent a lot of time together. That friendship was very important in the book and was very developed. But they gave almost no time to like the love story that drove almost the rest of the book, the rest of the plot. They were just immediately like in love with each other without even talking to each other. It was very strange. I was really hoping it would give me like Stars Over Clear Lake vibe, because that's like one of my favorite historical fictions. And I was hoping for like similar feelings when I was reading this one, and it just didn't deliver, unfortunately. So I gave The War Violin 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was The Last Vampire by Romania Garber. The setting in this book is amazing. So in an old burned out Victorian manor, these people open a boarding school. So Lorena and her friend enroll, and at the first year of this school operating, they only have like senior year. And then as they go on, they said they're going to add like the other grades of high school. A beta year going on where Lorena goes with her best friend, And yeah, of course they meet other kids there as well. And because it's an old burnt out Victorian manor, there are parts and wings that they were told they're not allowed to go in, which of course means that they go in them. So some new friends and Lorena go into an off-limits area and they find a coffin. They all run and they're freaking out, and then something bursts out of the coffin and Lorena finds out it is a vampire. William is the vampire. He has been in like a death sleep for 3 centuries, so he has no idea about anything modern. So he joins the school as a student to kind of catch up on everything that he's missed in history, and him and Lorena kind of make a tenuous truce/friendship, even though they don't really trust each other. William soon discovers that he is probably the last vampire on Earth. So what happened to his family, who were also vampires, like what happened to this whole species that used to like rival humans in this vampire history. And even though he possibly could be the last vampire, he's also torn between the friends he's made, his developing feelings for Lorena, and yeah, like humans, and then like what he is a vampire. So he's kind of torn between these 2 worlds. Loved the premise and the location of this arc. I thought the like boarding school with secrets, it was always like an interesting plot that will interest me from the get-go. The take on vampire lore in this book was pretty fresh. I think there was like some twists and turns that I haven't really read before, which is hard for vampire lore because we've kind of like read it all before. But I think there was some nice, new, fresh takes on vampire lore, so that kept it really interesting. The B characters I think were slightly underdeveloped, and it was a bit longer than it needed to be, but I think this was a solid vampire read with, some fresh perspectives. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in November was A Symphony of Echoes by Jodi Taylor. This is a sci-fi time travel book. This is the second in the Chronicles of St. Mary series. So in this, we pick up where we left off. We're on more crazy adventures. We meet up with Jack the Ripper. I love the places and the twists that this series takes on history. In the second book in the series, the laugh and antics continue. We're back with all of our favorite characters. It's extremely funny. A lot of adventure, a lot of action. They open the book searching for Jack the Ripper, and I thought it was a really cool take on Jack the Ripper. It was really a good way to open the book. But overall, I think it kind of lost a little bit of like intrigue and steam from the first book in the series. I definitely will keep reading because there's so many books in this series and they all can't just be like super strong, I feel like. So I definitely will keep reading this because it is such a funny, well-written series. So I gave A Symphony of Echoes 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was One by One by Freida McFadden. This is a thriller. I don't really read thrillers because they usually disappoint me, but I did a vlog on this. I'll link that above and below because this is my first Freida McFadden, and obviously there's a lot of buzz around her book, so I just wanted to read it. And I read One by One because I had it physically from a free little library, and it was the shortest because I wanted to get a book in before Brimstone came out. So that's why I picked One by One, even though people were like, this is her worst book. That's the reasons I picked it. So it's basically about Claire, who is basically just staying with her husband for the kids. They are not doing well. But every year they go on like a trip without the kids. So they go, her best friend and a new boyfriend go, and then his best friend and his wife go. So there's a group of 6, 3 couples, and they live in Colorado. They're going to go off in the Colorado wilderness to this like lodge, like fancy hotel lodge kind of, and just like do a lot of like nature stuff and, massages and just kind of rejuvenate. Claire is kind of like, you know what? I think I'm going to leave my husband. We just can't keep going on like this. But they never make it to the lodge because the car dies and they have to walk. And it's on this like, not even a dirt road. The road has like disappeared into wilderness. So they have to walk and try to get to the hotel, I guess. And they start either dying, disappearing, run away. I'm not going to tell you what happens to them, but they start leaving the group one by one. And does that mean something's hunting them? Something? Obviously, you don't know until the end. Thrillers are hard for me. Usually, like the reveal and the ending are usually a disappointment to me. So it's never usually the like main body of the book. I usually find that pretty interesting, but it's always like the letdown at the end. I will say, as for a thriller, it did keep me guessing. I wasn't totally disappointed in the ending. Like, I was surprised by it, and I wasn't like totally like, ugh, this is stupid. I'm definitely going to read some more of Freida McFadden's books. I know that one was not people's favorite, so maybe her like more popular ones, like The Housemaid or whatever, I'll really like. I do have from Free Little Libraries, I do have The Crash and The Coworker by her here down on my TBR card, if you can see that. So I definitely will read those because they're here, and they're very quick reads, which they're good to fit into little like 48-hour slots if you're in between books. That was actually pleasantly surprising for me. I didn't hate it. So I gave One by One 3.5 out of 5 stars. The last book I completed in November was Brimstone by Kelly Hart. This is the second book in Fae and Alchemy series, the follow-up to Quicksilver. So this is very anticipated for me and everybody else. I did a vlog on it, which I can link above and below, like of reading it. I can't really talk much about the plot because it pretty much starts off where the last book left off. So anything I really say about it would be specific about it would be kind of like a major spoiler, so I can't really talk about it. I will say that I think that the majority of it was a setup for book 3. Apparently it's going to be, this story in the universe is going to be 3 books. Maybe there'll be some other spin-offs and stuff. But having learned that even after I finished Brimstone, it makes much more sense. Like the second book is mostly a setup for book 3. Like I think an explosive book 3. And that's okay. That's okay. But I do feel like even though it kept me entertained, there was a lot of like action throughout. It wasn't like leading up to some big battle at the end, even though there was action at the end, but there was stuff all throughout the book that was interesting and entertaining. A lot of it won't matter. There were parts that will matter, but I would say the whole book wasn't super consequential probably to the end of the story. That's the feeling I got. It was a setup. It was a setup. So I would say that, of course, Carrion was a highlight. I don't think I would like these books half as much if it wasn't for him. He's like he's such a unique, even fantasy character. I don't know, like everyone loves him and of course they do because he's amazing. And also highlights were Tal and Onyx in this book. I mean, Onyx, everyone loves Onyx, but Tal also came to the forefront for me in this book. I really want to like know more about him and see what happens with him for sure. I will say I found the sexy times in this book pretty cringe and boring at the same time. And yeah, so they didn't really do it for me. It wasn't really into it. The last 20% of this book was probably the most enjoyable to read, the most consequential for the whole trilogy overall. And of course, like going into the third book, it's going to be the most consequential and also had the most movement for the plot. But that cliffhanger though, that was quite a cliffhanger, guys. I got to be honest. That was, what? Excuse me? So I gave Brimstone 4 out of 5 stars. I completed all of the books that were on my November TBR, but Alchemised. And I have started it. You know, it's like 1,000 pages. So I have started it. I am 53% through. So I will not be finishing it in November. It's already December. So obviously I have not finished it, but it will be definitely in my December wrap up. I won't give away too much of my thoughts so far because I am only halfway through, but I did think that huge parts of it I would have to just kind of like slog through because it is so long. But I haven't found that to be the case. Like I found it to be very engaged in it. Even I'm over 500 pages in now, and I still have like 500 to go. So yeah, I am very interested in getting to the end. I'm very chomping at the bit to get to the end or get even like further into the book and see what happens. So I will give you my like full update in my December wrap up. I gotta say, looking back at my ratings, I feel like I didn't have the best reading month. Like I didn't give anything a 5 or a 4.5. 4 was the highest that I gave any of the books. So not amazing, I gotta say, because there were quite a few of super hyped books this month that were not 5-star reads. And I thought at least 3 of them would be 5-star reads. So, but I enjoyed them. I could found things about them that I liked, but they just didn't totally land perfectly for me. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already. In the description box below, you can find all the books that I mentioned, my Goodreads, Instagram, wishlist, all the things, and I'll see you next time. Bye.